Good evening, everyone. This is Red Pill 78. You're listening to the Corruption Detector, and you're tuned in to the Red Pill News on Saturday evening. So, I've got a couple of tweets from Trump to start us out. Earlier today, Trump said that never in the history of our country has the press been more dishonest than it is today. Stories that should be good are bad. Stories that should be bad are horrible. Many stories, like the real story on Russia, Clinton, and the DNC, seldom get reported. Too bad. Well, he's right. It is too bad. It's too bad for the news outlets that are deciding that they want to just bash the president. They don't want to actually report the news. Their goal is simply to defame him and to dethrone him and get him out of office as soon as possible. And without that, barring that, they want to make it as difficult as possible for him to govern. So that is not necessarily a good route to take. We move on to a tweet directly about the Weekly Standard. Trump says the pathetic and dishonest Weekly Standard, has run by failed prognosticator Bill Kristol, who, like many others, never had a clue, is flat broke and out of business. Too bad, may it rest in peace. So long, Weekly Standard. I am not sad to see you go. Bill Kristol, the infamous Never Trumper and conservative hawk who rallied the former generations of the Bush family to enter the war and directly profited from it as an advisor on several think tanks, is now going to exit the media scene. I'm sure that Bill Kristol will not be gone from the tables of those conservative think tanks. I'm sure that he's still going to be involved in that stuff. But thank you, Bill Kristol, for shining a light on everything that is wrong with media and reporting in our country. You are essentially the personification of the absolute worst of the worst when it comes to what President Trump was just talking about in his last tweet. And that brings us directly into a story about Bill Kristol and the Weekly Standard. Title of this story is, Hating the President is Not a Strategy, as Bill Kristol just learned. Going all in on attacking President Trump isn't proving to be a particularly effective business strategy for media outlets. The Weekly Standard, a 28-year-old neoconservative institution, is reportedly headed towards dissolution after its founder Bill Kristol devoted almost 3 years of work to attacking the president and his supporters. Thank you very much, Bill. It's not just Kristol. The entire world of clickbait Trump hate seems to be in jeopardy, including sites that cater to the liberal base. The same week that the Weekly Standard's troubles broke, Vanity Fair dropped a bombshell report about the struggles faced by those hip, millennial-targeted left-wing rags with the cool names and rabidly anti-Trump headlines strewn across your social media feed. This is amazing. Vice, Vox, Mike, BuzzFeed, Mashable, they're all looking for buyers or seriously reevaluating their strategies in hopes of becoming profitable. Not likely with that type of programming. Mike laid off most of its workers. Vice and Vox are firing staff left and right. And you know, it's real sad. Vice, when it first started out, they actually did the kind of journalism that I was interested in. They reported on stories that were not otherwise being reported on. And they appeared to have, a level of removement from these stories. They were not pushing narratives, but now all they do is just push this left-wing SJW Trump-hating, just disgusting stuff. On cable TV, one network in particular has abandoned decades of journalistic tradition and ethics, devoting its resources to a relentless, nakedly partisan crusade to savage President Trump. CNN, fake news network. Its ratings, predictably, are in the tank. In October, CNN fell behind both the Hallmark Channel and Home and Garden Television. Oh my God, you would think that these people would get a clue. They are going to just put themselves out, snuff themselves out, and they're not even going to be able to report on anything after this. CNN is the least trusted name in news, and that's hilarious that they fall behind these two channels. I mean, what kind of a rating do you think these guys get? Maybe like, a couple thousand viewers? The resistance media strategy is not only corrosive to the country, it seems to be a loser business model. Kristol's descent into fringe irrelevance and the possible end of his once illustrious magazine is a perfect illustration. Crystal was a neocon hero, especially during the George W. Bush administration, when the Weekly Standard was one of the most important conservative outlets, read by serious people making serious policy decisions. Then the 2016 campaign happened, and Crystal seemed determined to make Never Trump his and his magazine's raison d'être. I think that's how you say that. While most of the Republican Party, no matter which candidate they backed in the primary, came together to get Donald Trump elected, Crystal just couldn't seem to let it go. After promising a major, serious third-party candidate to defeat both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, he put forward a politically obscure friend, embarrassing them both. As President Trump delivered victory after victory on issues Crystal long claimed to care about, Crystal and the Weekly Standard's desperate anti-Trump crusade looked increasingly like ego, then obsession, and then farce. Crystal tried to primary pro-Trump Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz with a never-Trump challenger. It ended in another embarrassingly lopsided defeat, but that didn't stop Crystal from continuing to lead a campaign to unseat President Trump in 2020. He even published a campaign announcement speech for a fantasy never-Trump savior, but as usual, no one cared apart from the Trump-hating left. It's so ironic that Bill Kristol went from being a neocon hero to being essentially the mouthpiece for the left. Just insanity. Unmoored in reality, Kristol continues to threaten Trump, prophesizing that the Trump presidency crumbles in the face of his 2020 primary challenge. What's actually crumbling are Kristol's reputation and legacy. Happily, it appears that the bulk of the late Standard's funding will be reassigned to its thus far fair to Trump's sister publication, The Washington Examiner. It turns out that trying to build resistance credentials by demonizing President Trump isn't just lousy for journalism, it's terrible for business. Bill Kristol, you're fired. All right, another text from President Trump. This is a follow-up on a story we've covered a couple of times in the last few days. Wow. 19,000 texts between Lisa Page and her lover, Peter S. of the FBI, in charge of the Russia hoax, were just reported as being wiped clean and gone. Such a big story that will never be covered by the fake news. Witch hunt. I love President Trump. He's so great. You know, whenever you hear people from the left or even conservatives that, don't like Trump, they're always talking about, he needs to stop tweeting. He needs to get out of there. The reason that he got elected is because he tweets. Not solely, but it's his strategy to reach the people that are his base, to reach us. He is able to speak directly to us. This is the 21st century version of a fireside chat. All right? He can just completely bypass the mainstream media, or he's able to get them to cover his stuff because it's so inflammatory. Or he spells something wrong, not only as a secret message to us or something that we need to decode, but because it's spelled wrong, the media treats him like he's a fool or he's some kind of an idiot. But I'll say it again. I've had a lot of people in the comment section, I'm not going to say a lot, but a couple of choice people in the comment section tell me that I'm crazy for saying that Donald Trump is a genius. Well, guess what? He's a freaking genius. All right? There's just no two ways about it. Everything that he does is calculating and measured. All right? He is an expert gamesman. He knows everything that he needs to do, and he has got some wonderful people behind him. All right, moving on to a story that really, really got me worked up. From Florida, I believe. Polk County detectives arrest 103 suspects in prostitution and trafficking ring. Look at these faces. These people could have been anybody. Your next door neighbor. If anybody is in Florida right now and they were somehow touched by this investigation and these arrests, I would really like to know about it. Okay. The Polk County Sheriff's latest prostitution sting netted 103 arrests. Sheriff Grady Judd made the announcement during an afternoon press conference Monday, and I believe December 3rd. True to form, he had a prepared line for several of the suspects. This dude was excited to get there. He was still wearing his hospital scrubs when he arrived, he said of one of the men, an alleged John. The 6-day operation focused heavily on online and social media ads. One of the 103 arrests made, 54 were alleged prostitutes, 29 were alleged Johns, 13 were alleged pimps, and 7 faced drug charges and other charges. Among the most serious arrests is 27-year-old Anthony Camacho, accused of human trafficking. Here he is. This is the scumbag right here. He brought a 17-year-old child to the operation to prostitute her, Sheriff Judd said. That 17-year-old is said to be a runaway from Virginia. If convicted, Camacho, who has a violent past that includes attempted murder, will face up to 30 years in prison. I'm sorry, I just lost my place. Our victim of human trafficking referred to him as King. We threw a bunch of aces at King. Now he's in the county jail, Judd said. I like this guy. Other notable arrests include Edmund Lopez of Kissimmee, who allegedly wanted to have sex with a 14-year-old girl, and William Welch, whom the sheriff says also planned on having sex with an underage teen girl. Welch remains at large. There is a warrant out for his arrest. Why didn't they get him at the time? Maybe he saw that it was a sting operation and he backed out, but you send the messages, man. You got the intent. It's on you. All right. Hopefully they catch him soon before he can damage anyone else. All right. And I do apologize. That is the end of that story. So yeah, just goes to show, how pervasive this is in our society. I don't know if it's just America, or if it's a human condition, but there are people out there who are willing to finance their lives by doing some of the most heinous acts impossible. They probably lured this 17-year-old girl into this situation, promised her, something much different than what she ended up encountering. And I can only hope that these sheriffs were able to get to her before she was involved too deeply in what was going on. Next, we have a story from the Gateway Pundit. More follow-up on the crucifixion of General Flynn. Rod Rosenstein will not allow General Flynn interrogator Joe Pkwy to testify, despite his reported willingness to defend Flynn. As TGP previously reported in February, according to Mike Cernovich, McCabe altered far-left FBI investigator Peter Strzok's 302 notes on his interview with General Michael Flynn. We know this to be the case. And then McCabe destroyed the evidence. In early May, Senator Grassley demanded the FBI and DOJ produce the transcript of Flynn's intercepted calls with Russian Ambassador Kislyak and the 302s by May 25th. The DOJ and FBI ignored him. Grassley then concluded his letter by reiterating his request to schedule an interview with the second special agent who was present at Flynn's interrogation, Joe Pkwy, after pushback from the DOJ. And there's Joe right there, redacted Joe. On Friday, the Mueller special counsel redacted Joe Pkwy's name in the 302 reports. According to investigative journalist Sarah Carter, Pkwy is willing to defend General Flynn in his testimony. But Deep State does not want you to know this. They even redacted his name today, as we saw in this morning's report. Joe's name is nowhere to be found. Apparently, Greg Jarrett discussed this on Lou Dobbs Tonight. We'll go ahead and watch that real quick.
Between themselves, that they were looking for an insurance policy, and Strzok in particular had forsworn his dying opposition. He was one of the early members of the resistance to the Trump administration, working under the colors of the FBI. Greg, your thoughts?
Well, these are the court documents today, and they are rich with evidence of corruption on the part of the FBI and to some extent the Department of Justice. They admit in the 302 document that the FBI agents
and the 302.
Well, 302 is a summary by the FBI of an interview. They admit that Flynn told the truth. So the question that Judge Emmett Sullivan should have on Tuesday is, Mr. Mueller, why are you prosecuting? Why did you charge a guy who your own agents interviewed and determined told the truth? And then I think if I were the judge, I would turn to General Flynn and say, General Flynn, why did you plead guilty to something you didn't do? Were you coerced? Was your son threatened by these special counsel operators over here at the other table?
How about why did the FBI director acknowledge, as he acknowledges, send over two agents thwarting what is policy, procedure,
right,
and the legal demand for representation for a formal interview? It wasn't just a little trek across town to the White House.
Well, you called Comey cute. I'd call him cunning and corrupt and also a liar. This is
Cletus, Texas, for all.
Yeah, I mean, this document here shows that he deceived the acting attorney general and didn't tell her about what he was doing with the interview with Flynn until it was too late. And then when she found out about it, she was angry. This is in the documents today. Comey deserved to be fired 100 times over for 100 acts of misfeasance and malfeasance. But the important point that Cleta is making here, there was no legal basis for the FBI to even interview Michael Flynn. It's not a crime to talk to the Russian ambassador during a transition.
I want to follow up with Cleta, where you took us back.
All right, we're going to stop there. Hopefully nothing happens to me for playing that. But Greg said it. There was no legal basis for the FBI to even interview Michael Flynn. He did nothing wrong. He was acting in his role as the National Security Advisor in the Transitional Administrative Team for Donald Trump. He was going to be someone who would, by necessity of his position, find himself needing to speak with the Russian ambassador. The whole thing is made up. It's phony. It's fake. All right, we've got another one here from the Daily Caller. This is a sad one. Zinke says the cost of fending off false allegations prompted his resignation. From the Daily Caller. Outgoing Department of the Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke claims that costs associated with defending himself and his family from false allegations prompted his decision Saturday morning to resign. Quote, I love working for the president and am incredibly proud of all the good work we've accomplished together. However, after 30 years of public service, I cannot justify spending thousands of dollars defending myself and my family against false allegations, Zinke wrote on Twitter following news of his resignation. And here is his resignation. It is a great honor to serve the American people as the Interior Secretary. I love working for the president and am incredibly proud of all the good work we've accomplished together. And then he goes on to say what he had said in that aforementioned quote. But he continues, it is better for the president and Interior to focus on accomplishments rather than fictitious allegations. This is so sad. Reports about Zinke's travel expenses, political activity, and decisions as Interior Secretary have roiled the Trump administration throughout the last 6 months. The Office of Special Counsel and the DOI Inspector General have investigated him at least 15 times. The same two watchdogs investigated the 4 prior DOI secretaries a total of 11 times. Zinke has been moderately successful at beating back at least one of the many allegations leveled against him. The Inspector General for the Department of the Interior found no evidence that Zinke gave Utah State Rep. Mike Knoll special consideration when rolling back the boundaries of the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, according to a copy of the IG report obtained by the AP. So the reason this is so sad is it's like apparently this tactic has been working. If they've been able to oust this many people just over false allegations, then it lets them know that this is a tactic that's going to continue to come in handy. Okay, what is it about the Secretary of the Interior that they want so badly to undermine? So basically, it allows these people to continue using this, to continue to keep pushing people out and stalling President Trump's agenda and stopping from being done what needs to be done. I hope that they can pass some type of legislation against these type of false allegations and unnecessary prosecution and persecution, so that people can come into their position, they can do the job that they need to do, not only for Trump but for the American people, and we can move on and we can help make America great. Okay, this is a job for all of us, and that includes you, Democrats. I'm looking right square at you. All right, friends. Now, lastly, we have a news story with an all-too-familiar theme from the Daily Mail. Disney Channel actor 48 arrested for trying to have sex with a 13-year-old he met in an online dating app. A 48-year-old actor who portrayed the grandfather of a middle school girl in a popular Disney Channel series was arrested Thursday for attempting to lure a minor in for sex. Stoney Westmoreland, who starred in Andy Mack, began communicating with the 13-year-old he matched with in an online dating app currently commonly used for arranging hookups, according to a police affidavit. The affidavit states that the middle-aged man requested naked photos from the teen. He also sent the teen pornographic images in return. Westmoreland later attempted to meet the victim for sex through a ride-sharing app he used to order the victim a car. That's when he was taken into custody by Salt Lake City Police Department and the FBI Child Exploitation Task Force. How ironic that he was in Salt Lake City. I wonder if he's going to be meeting up with Huber anytime soon. He has been charged with 4 counts of dealing in materials harmful to a minor and 1 count of enticing a minor by an internet or text. Further investigation is currently underway. Disgusting. Now, isn't it odd how so many actors and people involved with Disney and children's shows are themselves into this disgusting stuff? Westmoreland has also starred in the TV series Scandal, NCIS Los Angeles, Weeds, and Gilmore Girls, to name a few. The American comedy series Andy Mack first aired on the Disney Channel in April 2017 and is currently still running. The series, which has positive viewer ratings on IMDb and Google, takes viewers into the everyday life and drama of 13-year-old Mac, played by Peyton Elizabeth Lee. Disney Cable Network announced late Friday that Westmoreland has been fired. Given the nature of the charges and our responsibility for the welfare of employed minors, we have released him from his recurring role, and he will not be returning to work on the series, which wraps production on its 3rd season next week, a representative said. There he is. POS. I don't know anything about this story. My kid is way too old to be watching these younger teen Disney series any longer. Wow. Well, take a good look, guys. This is the face of pedophilia in America. He's just a normal-looking guy. These people can hide anywhere. And I would seriously doubt that this is the first time he did something like this. Who knows if we're going to find out about other victims, but I sure hope that this guy gets exactly what's coming to him. And I hope that U.S. Attorney Huber has something to do with it. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. This was everything I had. I hope that everyone's having a good weekend. Please leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And everyone, good night and God bless.